I'd like to please introduce and welcome Gadigal Bundjalung man Craig Madden for our welcome to country.
Thank you, Virginia. Bujari Gamarua, everyone. G'day and welcome. My name is Craig Madden. I'd like to start by thanking the Australian National Maritime Museum for inviting me down here today to welcome you onto my country. I'm a proud Bundjalung Gadigal man from the Eora Nation, and Gadigal land is the land on which we're standing here today. Jinyura Gadigal. This land is Gadigal. It's customary for our Aboriginal people to invite guests or visitors onto our land or country. It's something that we've been doing for thousands of years, offering you safe passage as you pass through our lands. So as a representative of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council and a proud Gadigal man, I'd like to welcome you all onto Gadigal land, Aboriginal land. I'd like to pay my respects to our elders, past, present and future, and acknowledge the stories and traditions of our Aboriginal people from this land. If we have any Aboriginal brothers and sisters here today, if we have any brothers and sisters from the Torres Strait Islands, welcome. To all our non-Aboriginal brothers and sisters here today, a warm and sincere welcome to Gadigal land, Aboriginal land. Our Gadigal clan is one of the 29 clans which make up the Eora Nation. And it's a nation that's bound by 3 distinct landmarks. So we have the Hawkes River to the north, the Nepean River out to the west, and the Georges River down to the south. Within the boundaries of those mighty rivers lie a Eora Nation, the land of our Gadigal people, is one of the 29 clans of that nation. To our guests from across the seas today, from across our great country, great states of this magnificently beautiful city of ours, welcome. I hope you all enjoyed the event today. I was here this morning and honestly listening to the stories, it made me smile and also brought a tear to my eye. We really do live in the most beautiful country in the world, and we have one of the most diverse and multicultural nations on the planet. It makes me proud to be a part of. So on behalf of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council and its members, our Gadigal mob, stay safe today, and once again, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig, so much. And I also want to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the land and waters that we meet on today, and I acknowledge the elders past, present and emerging, and anyone here today as well. I'd like to welcome every one of you as donors and supporters of Australia's National Maritime Museum, the Museum of the Sea, on this very special day to unveil panels on Australia's national monument to migration. And could we ask for a better day? Sunshine, forgot what that was like. Now, we have several distinguished guests present who I'd like to welcome with us today. Girza Segerish, Head of Office, Trade and Consular Office of Hungary, Deb Anderson of SBS, Nathan Haggerty, SSI, Settlement Services International, Malini Raj, Commonwealth Bank of Australia, Turkan Aksoy, Welcoming Australia, councillors of the museum and directors of the Foundation Board, donors, sponsors and supporters of the museum, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We've had such an overwhelming response to today. I think more than 1,700 people have responded to the invite, so we're hosting not just one but 3 of these events today. This is the second of today, so thank you so much for being part of this, the first time in the history of the National Monument. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now, we do have so many people on site to witness the unveilings that we've had to create an additional space for viewing the ceremony, so we welcome our guests in the Lighthouse Gallery, and we'll meet all of them at the monument at the conclusion of the ceremony as well. Today, the 20th of March, we mark the International Day of Happiness, a very fitting theme for today's occasion, which celebrates the contribution of migrants and the contributions they've made to this country. Tomorrow, on March 21, we celebrate both Harmony Day and the International Day for the elimination of racial discrimination. We hope that today can remind us all of the great good fortune we have even being here together, given all the events around the world today. And of course, we're united in celebration both of journeying and of coming home. Now, last year, the National Monument to Migration was formally unveiled by the Governor-General, affirming the museum's Welcome Wall as a nationally significant landmark. This year, we're adding names to the National Monument to Migration of people who represent 73 countries. That's a staggering amount, and just the top 10 of those are from the UK, Italy, Greece, Germany, the Netherlands, Poland, Hungary, South Africa, Ireland, Philippines, and Latvia. So please raise your hand for me if you are a migrant or the child of a migrant. Wow. And keep your hand in the air if your name is being added to the monument today. Congratulations, everyone. This is all about you. So I look forward to seeing all your names on the wall a little bit later. Before we begin, just some general housekeeping. Because not everyone could make it today, the event is being live streamed in front of us there and recorded. It will be posted on the museum's website. So I'd like to issue a special welcome to those watching from afar. We're sorry you couldn't be here with us, but honoured that you are watching us online. We'd love you to share your experience of the day. If you are posting videos or photos, use the hashtag #SeaMuseum, SEA Museum. And again, like I said, there is a film crew. If you're not comfortable, go up to Albie or the people behind the other camera and just ask them not to film you. In a moment, I'll introduce the first of today's speakers. We'll shortly be hearing from our hosts, the museum, and some very special guests who are going to share their stories with you. It's now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Simon Chan, Director of the Australian National Maritime Museum Foundation.
Thank you, Virginia. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I also like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation as the traditional custodians of the Barmo and Bardu lands and waters on which the museum is located, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nation people who are present here with us. Today, we honor 1,281 additional migrants on the National Monument of Migration. As you have heard, there are so many new names that we have to hold 3 special functions to accommodate everybody. We thank you for your attendance and your patience this past year while we have navigated the COVID pandemic. The monument features over 30,000 names from over 200 countries, and for the first time, we welcome names from Afghanistan, Gabon, Sierra Leone, and Somalia. The experiences of the people inscribed on the monument speak to universal themes such as belonging, love, adventure, family, safety, and striving for a better life. Some are journeys of loss and sadness, and some of triumph, but ultimately, all speak of hope. Thank you to all those who have donated to the Migration Heritage Fund in support of the Monument to Migration. The National Monument is an important way for the museum to honor, collect, and hold your stories, which collectively are our national story. The names inscribed on the monument speak to an important pillar of national history, and each person has generously come forward to claim a place as part of the sum of us. I'm very impressed with the focus of the museum on the story of migration. I myself came from Hong Kong in 1970, and I have since called Australia home. For me, Australia is the best multicultural country in the world. While we may come from different parts of the world, there's definitely something and one thing that is common among all of us. We are all Australians, and the Australian identity is very much shaped by our multicultural communities. And the museum has really made us feel like we belong. We are part of a big family. I'm part of you, and you are part of me. The museum's migration-related activities include developing collections, exhibitions and programs and events, including rooftop projections and very popular educational resources. We are also developing an exciting digital migration program in the future, and you hear more about that later. We are the only national cultural institution with a focus on migration, and we have ambitions to do a lot more in this space. There are many new migrants from many countries who are establishing themselves in this new country, who are not currently represented on the monument. And we would like to address that with our Honour a New Migrant initiative. We thank our partners Settlement Services International and Multicultural Australia in helping us to bring the names and stories of refugees and new migrants to the monument, and look forward to your support to fundraise for this initiative. Thank you again for your donation. Everyone on the monument is an important part of the museum's family, and we consider you to be our champions. I hope you think of the museum as your other home, and you will visit often. And to our speakers and performers, thank you for your time and for your art. And to the many organizations and associations who have helped us to spread the word, I would like to thank you. In particular, the Greek Orthodox community of New South Wales, the Criterion Association of Australia, COASIS, the Italian Association of Assistants, Australia Korean Foundation, Multicultural New South Wales, Welcoming Australia, and the Filipino community in Australia. And in particular, the Australian Filipina magazine, Kababa Iham Risalista, and Radio Tagumbay. And also our thanks to the many consulates and Chamber of Commerce who have assisted us. Finally, to our media partner, SBS. You are a founding partner of the museum's original welcome wall. And we thank you for your continued support of the museum's migration campaign and your leadership and passion for multiculturalism as the monument fills its new role as Australia's national monument to migration. And of course, thanks to the museum's team for their hard work. So on behalf of the Australian National Maritime Museum, I hope that you enjoy this celebration today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simon. Now, our next speaker is Ms. Violet Roumeliatis, CEO of Settlement Services International, which is a community organisation and social business that works to support newcomers to Australia and other vulnerable individuals to achieve their full potential. During her 10 years as CEO, she has taken SSI from a Sydney-based organisation with 68 staff to 900 plus workforce that supports more than 52,000 people nationally each year. Now, among her accolades, Violet was made a member of the Order of Australia for outstanding service to the community in 2020. She's a former Telstra Australia Businesswoman of the Year and has been named one of Australian Financial Review's top 100 women of influence in the category of diversity and inclusion. Please make her welcome.
Thank you very much, Virginia, for that very warm welcome. And of course, those achievements are collective. You don't achieve things like that in an organisation that's community-based without the work and efforts, skills, passion of many people in this country and some in this room, or in this, some faces that I know, loved colleagues and friends. And thank you very much, Simon, because of the work of the foundation, and fundraising is critical to ensure that we can collect and showcase the many stories of our history here at this great museum. So please, let's do the best we can to raise funds to have many, many more stories on this beautiful monument. I would also like to pay my respects to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and their elders past, present and emerging, and to any First Nations people here today. Ancestors have walked this country, and I acknowledge their special and unique place in our nation's historical, cultural and linguistic identity. I'm so very pleased to be here today. In my role as the CEO of Settlement Services International, we have the privilege of greeting many new migrants and refugees on their arrival to Australia and connecting them to services and programs that help them find their feet in a new country. Migrants bring so much richness to our country and indeed Australia. Australia is one of the world's great multicultural success stories, and so it is fitting that there be a national cultural institution with responsibility for and a permanent gallery dedicated to this success story. And according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, 30% of Australia's population is now born overseas. The economic contribution of migrants has been well documented and has been invaluable. Research from Oxford University's Ian Golding found that migrants are 2 to 3 times more likely to start a business. Hediat is one person, a case in point we'll hear from soon. 2 to 3 times more likely to win a Nobel Prize, and 2 to 4 times more likely to lodge a patent. It's pretty extraordinary. But of course, this doesn't include the rich cultural and social contributions that migrants bring, along with admirable traits like resilience and adaptability. The research also shows that a warm welcome from the local community makes a big difference in enabling newcomers to feel part of things, and being part of the National Monument to Migration is an extension of that welcome. That sense that you now belong here, that this is your home, and that your story matters. Being here brings back memories of my late father, and so it's a bit of an emotional time for me. My parents made the journey to Australia after World War II and the Civil War in Greece, seeking a better life. My dad had wanted to study dentistry, and then the war broke out and he joined the Greek forces. He was actually awarded a bravery medal in the war, and when it was over, he couldn't proceed with his studies for economic reasons, so he decided to migrate to Australia. And the transition was a real culture shock for him. But he arrived with aspirations and was introduced to my mother. They married and then went on to have 3 girls, my sisters and I. My father opened a corner store, the salvation of many Greeks of the time, of course, and many others after that. And he worked very, very long hours in the business that he ran with my mum, while making sure us kids had access to great educational opportunities, with lots of books around the home, and of course, Greek dancing lessons, Greek school, and many wonderful trips on weekends to Kiama Blowhole and African Lion Safari, and many other wonderful things and memories growing up, a lot of family events. And as a child, I saw firsthand their resilience and their optimism, the support that they had from the surrounding Greek community, and the support they in turn gave others as passionate and active leaders in the community. Because of course, organisations like ours were not around in those days. But irrelevant of that, even today, services like SSI cannot do the job they do without community, without diaspora communities, without civil society that steps up and plays that critical role of engaging and connecting and making people feel welcome. And my parents were hardworking and humble, and at one stage they even mortgaged a family home and bought a small block of land in East Terrace in Bankstown, where the first Greek Orthodox church was built in Bankstown, and it's a very big, thriving parish today. So I'm very proud of their legacy and the many that worked with them. I saw the things they did to integrate into the Australian community, while also contributing to embrace and celebrate their own cultural heritage. And as their daughter, I stand here today very proud of my dual Australian-Greek heritage. But it wasn't always rosy. There were hard times. There was a lot of challenges, there was racism and discrimination. And standing here today, working with migrant communities, I think all of us know that there are things that we can do as Australians to really lift around the issue of diversity and Australianness, and that multiple identities. What brings us together is those values and our love of a country and an aspiration to be the best we can be, whether we're ordinary lives, like most of us, which is great, or others who stand out and the extraordinary. We all have an important role to play in contribution, our friends and our families. Now, I first heard about the National Monument to Migration many years ago when it was called the Welcome Wall. My dad had passed away, and the family wanted a way to honour him and his contribution, his memory and his life. And so the story of the Katsaris family is now part of this collection of personal stories and family histories. However, in recent discussions with the museum, I became aware that not all countries were well represented on the monument, and so my organisation initiated a program with the museum called Honour a New Migrant, that Simon referred to. It does cost to incorporate these stories onto the monument, and we are well aware that new migrants and refugees may not be in a position to fund this themselves. So part of the initiative, our organisation, along with Multicultural Australia, a great organisation in Queensland, helps identify individuals and families who might like to have their stories historically recorded in this way, and the museum provides the funds through its generous donation program. And together with the museum, we hope to develop a fully rounded collection of stories and the migrant experience, as this is vital to understanding the Australian identity and ensuring diverse people are reflected in the national story. So building awareness of the migration experience to Australia in turn helps promote understanding and greater community harmony. And in gathering these stories, we must not forget our First Nations people and their stories as the original inhabitants and custodians of this land. The museum does good work in this space, but I hope that one day soon we will see a First Nations voice to Parliament enshrined in the Constitution. Today I'm proud to say that 14 people we have come to know through our settlement program are being honoured today. They come from Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Jordan, Samoa, Lebanon, Turkey and South Africa. And it's so important to have this broad representation, as this accurately reflects the richness of the migrant experience. And I must say, I am pleased to see that Hediyat Ozian, a refugee from Afghanistan, will be speaking shortly, and he's a graduate of our Ignite Small Business Initiative, and through the provision of the program's support, Hediyat has been able to create an amazing business. He'll talk about more. But importantly, he's provided mentorship and jobs to Australians of refugee backgrounds. And this really is the true migration success story, many such examples. So congratulations to you all. I hope you feel warmly welcomed and truly a part of Multicultural Australia's success story. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Violet, and museum partner Settlement Services International, and also Multicultural Australia, who has been working with the museum to help bring the names and stories of new migrants to the monument in a program named Honour a New Migrant. What a wonderful idea. Can we give them a round of applause, please? And if you would like to donate to this wonderful project, please speak with the team at reception. They can help you with that. And it's now my honour to please welcome Chantel Snedden, who will sing the national anthem for us.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in
Chantel. A few shy voices. Remember what singing in public was like? Thank you, Chantel. Now, our next special guest is a person whose contribution to the arts has enriched thousands of students in her years as an educator. Of Hungarian heritage, she has studied and worked as a creative artist in Japan and Spain. Please welcome Miss Elizabeth Gervais.
Such an honour to be standing here. Thank you. My name's Elizabeth Gervais. Today I speak for my siblings, Thomas and Suzanne. Our father was Zoltan Gervais. As Zoltan's father died early, Zoltan helped his mother Roja with their farm and raising of his 5 siblings. Entrepreneurial Zoltan, not formally educated, was a trader. Watermelons, onions. The village was in Matalak, on the northeastern border next to Ukraine and Romania. By September 1943, World War II had reached Hungary. Our family members dispersed. They were swept up in the chaos, murdered, forced into work camps, joined the underground. To survive, the few who did, they made do with a potato, among many. At the end of World War II, another life for Zoltan and Veronica began. Zoltan and Veronica started a family. Thomas and Marika arrived, and a business. Hungary was ruled by the Communist Soviet Union and its brutal secret police. In 1948, Zoltan and Veronica made a decision to walk away. A walk away from their country. They walked silently through the forests, crossing rivers, avoiding searchlights and minefields. Veronica held on to her son, Thomas's hand. He was 3 years old. Our grandmother, Veronica's mother, Clara, walked with them. A refugee camp in Austria became their home, a walk of over 500 kilometres from their village. Veronica used her dressmaking skills to remake clothes in exchange for a precious egg, Thomas's favourite. They walked to a future that gave them freedom from political decisions beyond their control, far, far away from borders. A new beginning, Australia. At that time, our family's name was changed to a common Hungarian name. It started with G, like Grosinger. It's Gervais today, and strangely enough, we're the only Gervais in Australia. In July 1950, they arrived in Sydney carrying a few treasures, a handful of photos, a damask tablecloth, the memory of a violin, and a poetry book. Our mother's Australian violin is with us, safe. Our father's poetry books are with us, safe. Sunday was a family day of music and dance. Thomas on the piano accordion, Veronica playing the violin, and the girls imitating Liberace. Coloured ribbons swirled with lamingtons as the finale. A picnic in the Blue Mountains, or the family playing rummy, was also on the cards. Australia for Zoltan and Veronica meant freedom to work for yourself, for someone else, or both. It was a place that you could be educated. You could speak freely. Vegemite sandwiches, Hungarian goulash, football, meat pies, and a place where a handshake was a handshake with no written contract. The decision to walk and keep walking gave Zoltan and Veronica a home that they were, and we are, forever grateful. However, our mother's words come into mind. It's all about luck. Yes, luck and the determination to keep walking. By 1956, Zoltan's surviving siblings arrived in Australia. By August this year, 25 direct Gervais descendants live safely. Thank you, Australia, and thank you, Maritime Museum.
And thank you for sharing that, Elizabeth. I wonder if it was in one sitting, the Vegemite, the goulash and the meat pie, was it? Thank you for sharing that. Now, we would like to welcome our next speaker, who is a renowned Greek-Australian documentary photographer who for decades has worked on explorations of historical and contemporary stories of Greek migration to Australia. Her work is known for the way that it seeks out a dialogue and narratives that speak to audiences in the two countries. Please make welcome Effie Alexakis.
Welcome, thank you. I'll be speaking about the very Reverend Nectarios Zobalas. I'm greatly inspired by the humanitarian deeds that he's well known for. In early 2021, before the pandemic lockdowns, I started going to the Greek Orthodox Church of St. Constantine and Eleni in Newtown, where he operates a soup kitchen for the local community. I photographed the volunteers and the homeless that visit the soup kitchen. I created an exhibition, and now I hope to produce a book based on his work. Father Nectarios started preparing meals for people when he was the parish priest in Marrickville. 35 years ago, he was transferred to Newtown, where the soup kitchen really took hold. Meals are provided daily with the help of a team of committed volunteers. He also provides spiritual guidance and financial support to those in need. Father Nectarios was born Zacharia on the Dodecanese island of Kos in 1935. In 1963, he was in a town in Greece called Trikala to begin his journey within the Greek Orthodox Church, a plan which had to be aborted. He says at first he didn't want to come to Australia, and I quote him, "My sisters Kseni and Dimitra were older than me. They were in Australia at the time, so I came. In Greek tradition, you have to support your sisters." He came on the Ellenis in 1964. He recalls that it was the second journey to Australia for that vessel. Father Nectarios is a man of few words, but very wise words. So when I inquired what he recalled about the journey out, he simply stated, quote, "I remember that I ate, I drank, and I slept." We had some relatives on the ship, and we had a good parea, company, on the journey. His first impressions of Australia, he said, "When I first came, everything seemed mavra, black. All things looked anapoda, upside down. I had no plans. I worked in factories, at the water board and at various jobs. After 4 years working in Australia, he was asked to go back to Greece again to care for his parents. So he left with his, at the time, unmarried sister Dimitra. His father died in 1968, but Dimitra stayed to care for their mother. In April 1970, Father Nectarios journeyed back again to Australia by aeroplane. In 1971, he was ordained as a Greek Orthodox priest. This is when his attitude about being in Australia changed. He was ecstatic that he finally had his vocation, which he had hoped for to do in Greece. He had wanted to serve in church from the age of a 5-year-old boy. It was during his time in Marrickville that he became a naturalised Australian, around 1980. He said that there were about 450 to 500 people that were returning to Greece at that time, so to help with the paperwork for their passports, he had to become naturalised. This I found very interesting because in my own research during the late 1980s, there were more Greek Australians leaving Australia than arriving due to financial pressures within Australia at that time. I finish with a quote from him. "From the moment I became a priest, all I thought about was how to be a good priest and to do my job well. The reason I was initially upset when I first came to Australia was because I thought I had lost my direction to becoming a priest." Father Nectarios is honoured to have his name on the National Monument to Migration. His niece, Sevi Sechos, representing the family, said, "It's never been about him. It's always been about giving back. He epitomises all good qualities. Having his name engraved on the monument is special to the family." I'm so enthused about representing Father Nectarios' migration story today that I do want to add my own parents' name to the monument, so I'll be connecting with someone later. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Effie, for sharing those wonderful insights on Father Nectarios. Now, some of you may know that this week we celebrate some important national days, including the National Day of Hungary on March 15 and St. Patrick's Day, which is the National Day of Ireland on March 17th. And I learnt from one of our previous speakers in the first session that today is also New Year's Eve, I think, in Afghan culture. And on the 25th of March, it is the celebration of Greek Independence Day, and today we add 91 new inscriptions honouring people from Greece. The museum has worked closely with the Greek community on a special fundraiser to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the Greek War of Independence and to honour the contribution of Greek Australians in building our nation. If you'd like to contribute to this initiative, please see the team at reception. It is now my great pleasure to introduce you to our final speaker, Mr. Hidayat Ossian. Hidayat was an Afghan refugee whose Hazarian family experienced the horror of instability and fear of persecution at their home in rural Ghazni. His journey to Australia meant leaving his family behind. But with help from Settlement Services International, Hidayat has established a business through which he is able to mentor refugees and build skills, including with local experience, award wages and benefits, as well as providing support with English lessons and navigating official correspondence. Please welcome Hidayat to the podium. And he might have a little helper as well.
He's my assistant. Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a great honor and privilege to be here today. And I would like to thank you, the Australian Maritime Museum, for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this amazing event. 12 years ago, I had fled my country because my life was in danger. The Taliban and other extremist groups, they have been persecuting our ethnic for centuries. When I left my country, I left everything behind. My families, my childhood, and my memory. There was only one thing which I kept with myself, was a gift from my 13-year-old sister. She made a handkerchief and gave it to me and said, "Please keep this one as a memory. If something happened to us as you're living today, it will remind us." And I keep this one with myself through the hard journey from Afghanistan to Australia, which took 6 months. When I arrived at Christmas Island Detention Center, I was thinking probably I will be treated differently because of my race, because of my origin, and because of my face, as I was considered as a second-class citizen in Afghanistan, in my hometown. But in contrast, for the first time in my life, I was treated with respect and dignity. And from that time, I decided to work hard and contribute to this beautiful country. Because these people, they welcome me with open heart, regardless of how I came to Australia and how I looked like. After 2 years in Australia, for the first time, I shared my story with the Australian Maritime Museum. And I have donated this item, this gift from my sister, to the Australian Maritime Museum to symbolize that how much I love this Australia and the Australian people. That item was the most valuable item in my life in Australia. And I give this item to the Australian Maritime Museum to show my respect and love to these people. As you know, unfortunately, 7 months ago, my country has fallen to the Taliban. Now, millions of Afghan people have fled their country. And my sister was one of them. She was at risk of killing and raping. And I reached to my Australian friend that if he can help to rescue my sister. And luckily, through the help of my friends and the Australian government, she was rescued. And this was impossible without support of my friend, Cindy Carpenter, which we are lucky to have her here. And now Australia became a safe sanctuary, a safe haven for my family and for my community. And I always feel proud that I am Australian. And I can be more than proud that today, which for the first time, one Afghan have been recognized by the Australian Maritime Museum on the Momentum wall. It's a great honor and privilege, and I would like to thank you, every Australian people, for welcoming me here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Hidayat, and so lovely to have you here and your sister as well, and your little helper there, your son. Now, special guests, we hope that you can take some time to enjoy your day. That does wrap it up for the official proceedings for this second session. You can visit the panel and find your name, visit the cafe here at the museum, Ripples, or check out the food trucks on site today. There are also market stalls at the front entrance. And now that we've unveiled the new panels, please go and view your name anytime you like. It is just around the corner. Thank you again for coming today and helping to create this wonderful occasion. Congratulations to all, and may we have a final round of applause for all our speakers and performers today.
Can I have just one more?
Oh, sure. Sorry, before we let you go, we've got another speaker.
My family is of Italian origin and settled in 1780 in Alexandria, Egypt. 1956, we had to leave our beloved Alexandria. And 2 years later, we came to Australia without one penny, only the clothes we had on. We prospered, our children thrived. Australia is the best country in the world. Let's say 3 hurrays for Australia. Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip.